Welcome back to the Summer Crop and Create Delivered video series. This is video 2 in which I create a layout using the summer kit. We're going to use a 12 by 12 inch sketch to create our layout. I'm going to alter it a little bit to fit my personal style. So you have the option with a particular sketch like this of using it as inspiration, and you'll see how I was inspired. I am going to use a pattern paper all the way in the background, and then I am going to add a bold rainbow stripe down the left side. On top of that, I'm going to use the other side, which is an arrow, and I'm going to trim it into a pennant shape, just for something more interesting than a stripe. When we attach it, we're going to overlap part of that pattern paper that's a rainbow and part of the teal pattern paper. Now, referring back to the sketch, you'll notice that there is a big block right here, and I'm going to do that with a sheet of green cardstock pattern paper. It's green on one side, circular on the other, and I wanted to add something to it, so I'm going to stamp on it. And I'm going to be using this distressed circle stamp. I'm using some Stampin' Up! Ink. It's Gumball Green, and it works beautifully with this particular stamp and color of pattern paper. And because the majority of the project is going to be on top of this, I'm only going to concentrate on the exterior. Now you can double stamp, meaning you can stamp once and then stamp again, and you'll get a very, very light color. But we want to create just some different shapes off the edge of this. This will make this far more interesting than if we just left it as green cardstock. And you can do this technique with any of the stamps in the set if you wanted to. You could just add some different and unique shapes. There is no rhyme or reason to what I'm doing. We're just kind of creating here. I do turn the stamp from time to time. So there you have the outline of it. Now I did bring in a sheet of white cardstock for the next part of the layout because it showcases everything I want so beautifully. So I'm going to adhere this right in the center. But before I do that, I'm going to add a yellow border strip, a scallop border strip, right to the bottom of this. This is cut from the yellow cardstock found within the kit. And I actually think I'm going to add it to the bottom of the green. You can change your mind all the time with these kinds of projects. Once I have this, I'm going to place it back onto the pattern paper that I started with. And we're going to off-center the design, which is much like the sketch. So you notice I'm not centering the design. So on the sketch, you can see that it is centered, but I'm going to scooch it over just a little bit. Again, we're going to place this right in the center. And now you can see those stamped circles are peeking out behind that white cardstock. All right, now we're going to create some layers. Now on the actual sketch, there are several photos, but I wanted to use a photo in particular, and I loved it. It's even blurry, but it tells the story very well of my husband torturing our son and his niece and nephew. And that is a tradition in our family. He just tortures them. I think that's what all dads do. Behind that, I'm going to take one of the yellow tags from American Crafts. We'll build a little layer here. I'm going to take the red camera from the same die cut kit. And we want to leave enough room because I'm going to add some journaling to that tag. And then from the Simple Story sticker sheet, I'm going to take the yellow arrow and I'm going to place it across the camera. Now again, referring back to the sketch, lots of photos. So one thing I saw when I saw this bottom edge was I could combine two items to get this effect. So to do that, I am going to use a journaling card that is 3 by 4 that runs horizontally. And then I'm going to take one of the frames from the DIY collection, and this will serve as the photo. Again, here's the sketch that inspired this section of the layout. Before attaching those, however, I want to add another border, and I'm not afraid to add a lot of different border strips because it creates a lot of texture on the layout. So I've pre-cut this to stretch across the bottom here. And then one thing I like to do is I like to distress it with my fingers. And you can do this before or after, but basically you're going to use your fingers and pull them up and crinkle them as you do so. If you wanted to, you can even rip one of them off. This just creates a fun textural element on the bottom of the layout. So it's pretty crumpled up. Now we can add our journaling card. And I'm going to loosely place it down. I don't have very much adhesive up here because I already know I'm going to layer. Now for the Enjoy frame, I'm going to use this square photo, and we'll attach that to the photo frame. I don't use a lot of adhesive when I'm first starting to place it down. And now I can add more adhesive to the bottom as well as to the back of the photo. Now for this section, I'm going to flatten those pieces back down so that they don't fly up too much. And I'm slightly overlapping that larger photo. Now back here, I want to create a little vignette, and we're going to do that with some die cuts. We're going to use the beach ball die cut, and we will make sure that it doesn't cover any element that's important in the photo. Then we'll use the surfboard. And I want to make sure that you can at least read part of it. So it says school's out for the say hello to summer. So I think about things like that. Then I'm going to take the hello summer and I'm going to add that with some glue dots. It's one of the flares in this particular kit. I'll add a couple of glue dots to the back. It does not have adhesive, so you'll need to add your own adhesive. We're just creating a fun little cluster. I want to create a secondary cluster here at the bottom, and I'm going to do that with some flip-flops. I've cut them from the backing of the sticker so I could get a feel for how they look. And then I'm going to use this heart, but I want to give it some dimension. So I'm going to stick it up just a little bit with an adhesive square or dot on the back. That gives it a little bit more interest to stick up. Overlap a little bit. And then I'm also going to add this ampersand paper clip, and that creates a bigger cluster. Now there are several ways that you can attach these. I'm going to use a stapler, and I just want to make sure that I capture both sides of the ampersand. You can see that it staples through. And then I want to repeat that on the other side, trying to keep that A as straight as possible. So you can use staples to hold these. You could also machine stitch them if you wanted, if you like that look a little bit better. Now I want to add a few stars from the chipboard star pieces, and you can just adhere these with glue dots. Again, they don't have any adhesive on the back, so you will need to adhere them yourself. So we're kind of marrying all of these. Now remember, I didn't put a lot of adhesive on this frame, and I'm going to show you why. First, I'm going to trim down this photo just a smidge because it looks like it's peeking out just a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is take some of the orange striped ribbon, and I'm going to actually tie it to the paper frame. Now do be careful because the frame is fragile and you don't want to rip it. So even just one knot will do. And then we'll add a second one just to give it a little bit more bulk. Again, do be careful when you're tying the knot not to rip that paper frame. And then trim off the excess. And then you can scooch them down by each other and manipulate the ribbon a little bit. And now at this point, if you need more adhesive, I'm going to place glue dots right behind that upper corner of the frame. If it's overlapping on your photo too much, just trim it off a little bit more. So just two fun little knots of ribbon can create some fun dimension on the layout. Let's get them a little closer together. All right. Now I can add some journaling to the top here, and I can talk about how I love watching my husband torture the kids. And then after that, I am going to add a heart on a foam dot to the center of the camera. I'm going to go ahead and add the journaling and then show you what it looks like. So there's the journaling, and then we can add the little heart to the center of that camera. So let's look back at the sketch and see how closely we followed it. You can see it's very loosely based on the sketch, the concept of the pattern paper and then a border strip, a general center area. I did copy this idea here, and even the way the orientation of the title drew my attention. And then from there I built my own layout. Be sure to watch for the third video in this series so you don't miss out on the opportunity to see how we use this summer kit to create an additional layout.